Okay. Okay, we're live. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Techies 15 Live. This is Immigrant Techies 15-minute weekly live podcast, and it's our way of staying in touch with the community and inviting people who are doing cool work in the ecosystem. So today is a kind of a special feature. So our guest is not exactly about tech. But when we talk about our health, it matters to everybody. And because I sit on the Provincial Advisory Board of Heart and Stroke Foundation, and I know that there's important messaging to be spread, especially this month that is dedicated Stroke Month. And so we thought we'd do a highlight about Heart and Stroke Foundation and some of the work they're doing and how you can access some of the tools for your own education and to help your community. So our guest today is Robin Jones Muriel, and she's the Senior Vice President for the Western Canada region. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Wumi. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming. And yeah, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself
Yeah.
and a quick snapshot about Heart and Stroke Foundation.
Of course, of course. So I am located in Vancouver and I've been with Heart and Stroke for almost 4 years now. I was headhunted for this job and I wasn't sure about coming to work for Heart and Stroke because I wrongly thought that it was an issue that had already been solved, which is not the case. And then 5 days before my interview, my dad had a widowmaker heart attack. And I'm very lucky he's okay because he didn't smoke, he didn't drink, he's, relatively healthy, keeps active. And so he was able to survive his heart attack. But I knew that was the reason I had to go work at Heart and Stroke because he was the benefit of all the wonderful research that has happened over the years. So Heart and Stroke was formed over 70 years ago, and it was a group of cardiologists that came together and said, we really need to do something. People are dying too early of heart attacks or heart disease. And so they decided to start to fund research. And so that started, as I say, over 70 years ago, and we've seen tremendous progress. I think we've lowered the death rate by about 75%. Um, and then years later, we joined to include stroke as well. We know that there's a large connection between both the brain and the heart. And so, really they work together in tandem. So if you have, an issue with your heart, you're also likely to be at higher risk for a stroke. And that's something I do want to talk to you about a little bit later, because it's very important for newcomers to Canada to know the signs of stroke. But at Heart and Stroke, we focus on three conditions. Four conditions. So we focus on stroke, cardiac arrest, which is when your heart suddenly stops, heart failure, and congenital heart disease. So congenital meaning that you were born with an issue with your heart. And so we focus on these issues by first investing in research. That's the number one thing that we invest in. And then we also take that research to enhance both advocacy with the government and eventually to affect policy. So policy that the government's put in place. And then from there, we may help to change the health system, to make the health system better wherever we can. And then another big component of that is getting public awareness campaigns out, like our FAST awareness campaign, which you kind of alluded to.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, given how short a time we have to talk about this,
Yeah.
there's so many things we can talk about. But what do you wish people know
Yes. Great
that
point.
can make the whole difference if everybody just has this information, knows what to do
Yeah.
under all these circumstances, that what can an ordinary person, how can an ordinary person equip themselves to be a lifesaver in
Yes.
situations where a life is threatened?
Yes. So in Alberta right now, we've just been funded from the government to come out with a big awareness campaign. It's called our FAST awareness campaign. We call it FAST because that's an acronym for what you can do. So When somebody's having a stroke, that means that the blood has stopped flowing to their brain. And so that could either be a blockage in a vessel that's going to their brain or an artery, or it could be a bleed. And so the brain is not getting the oxygen it needs. And so when you're having a stroke, your brain cells are dying, and every single minute counts. And so the reason we have that acronym is because we want you to act fastly. But please remember, so I'll tell you what it stands for. So the acronym stands for FACE. So is the face drooping? Is face drooping usually on one side? If your face is drooping, could be a sign of stroke. Can you raise your arms above your head? One arm, can you raise both arms? If you can't raise your arms above your head, that potentially could be a sign of stroke. And then is your speech slurred or jumbled? So sometimes people can sound like they're under the influence. They can sound like they've been drinking too much. Is the speech slurred or jumbled for absolutely no reason? If that's the case, and all those things, or even just one of those things is there, it's time to call 911. And whatever you do, don't get into a car and drive yourself. It's very important to call 911 because there's a protocol that comes in place as soon as you call 911 and you say, I think, my partner, I think I think my friend is having a stroke, then there's a certain protocol that's enacted. And so we know that's the quickest way to get help to you. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing to remember is that, time is brain power. So the sooner that we can get help, we've got some very effective ways of now treating stroke, but they're very time sensitive. So the most important thing you can do is call 911 right away if you think someone's having a stroke.
Mm-hmm. So fast, F is the face,
Face,
the
face,
A is the arm,
arm. Can you reach your arm up? Yeah.
and then S the
Uh,
speech, right?
speech. Yep.
And
Yeah.
then T is time. Like,
Time. Time to call
okay.
911. That's the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing you can do. And even if you're not sure, call 911. It's better to be safe than really sorry, because stroke is very serious. And I bring this up to this community because I know many of you are newcomers to Canada. And this is something that isn't necessarily known in new communities. We're trying to get this messaging out in different languages. So we have Punjabi and Arabic, Mandarin and Cantonese as well. But we want as many people as possible to know what these signs are and know the importance of calling 911.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. And because this is a community that is keen on innovation and problem solving, So we know that Heart and Stroke focuses mostly on research,
That's right.
academic research.
Yeah.
But what's this place for innovative research in terms of companies that are disrupting the health space, that are creating solutions that are not necessarily doing it for the purpose of research, but maybe to commercialize later. So
Mhm.
is there a way that those efforts complement what Heart and Stroke does?
For sure. We see a lot of our funded researchers may go on and commercialize their products, but all the funding we provide goes directly to anybody who's in kind of a university or academic setting.
Mm-hmm.
So we provide funding to at different levels. So it could be early career, as early as a master's student. We do have scholar awards, we call them, that go to master's students, PhD students, postdoctoral students. And so there's a certain amount, and we do those awards for 3 years, and we do a new session of those awards every year. We also have awards that go to our new investigators. And so new investigators would be kind of mid-career, and those particular awards would go to anybody whose work has been peer reviewed by us. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I say us loosely because it's not me, it's not anybody that works at Heart and Stroke that assigns these awards. It's actually a group of peers. So it's very prestigious to get one of Heart and Stroke's awards because really a group of peers have come together and said, like, this work is scientifically sound, and we think this is going to make the biggest difference in this realm. So that's really how we help fund, and we do know that some of those researchers do go on to kind of commercialize products, or they may work with organizations that are doing so, but primarily the funding that we provide is for people within kind of the university setting.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, that's awesome. And I know Heart and Stroke also focuses a lot on women health.
Yes.
Can you tell
Yeah.
us a bit about the initiatives on that are focused particularly on women?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I mentioned that statistic about the 75% decrease in kind of early deaths due to, heart disease and stroke. However, where we're seeing a gap is particularly with women. So women, unfortunately, have been kind of left out of research. About for up until 2016, two-thirds of research was just done on men. There's a number of reasons for that, but generally what was thought is, what'll work for men will surely just work for women. Women are like small men. But we know that actually a woman's makeup, not only are like is a woman different in terms of like her reproductive organs, but we know that actually her heart is different. Her heart is smaller. We know that the blood vessels are different. We know that basically when things happen to women regarding their heart, sometimes they have the same symptoms as men, but often they don't. So for a woman, she may not experience kind of like a crushing, we call it like the Hollywood heart attack, which is the crushing pain, feels like an elephant sitting on your chest. Like that's really how a lot of
Mm.
heart attacks have been described. What women may experience is just back pain in their upper back. They could have jaw pain. They could have a migraine. They could have digestive problems, indigestion, and they could just feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, if you present to the ER like that, you may get somebody who is really great and knows
Mm.
to look for some of those signs. But if you're showing up to the ER and you're a fit young woman and you have some of those symptoms, most kind of folks in the ER, most physicians would not think that's typical for a woman, even though those are. So a lot of the work that we're doing is to focus more on research, looking at
Mm.
women's specific heart and brain health, but also getting our messaging out to women across Canada and to physicians that really we need to know that women's risk factors and women's symptoms can be quite different than men's.
So they may not even present the typical fast symptoms.
So the fast symptoms for stroke, they're still
Mm.
present that way, but when we're talking about a heart attack,
Heart attack. Okay,
that's
sure.
when the symptoms can be
Mm-hmm.
quite different. Yeah,
Right,
they
right,
won't
right.
have that crushing pain necessarily. Some
Mm-hmm.
women do, but certainly not all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you're doing the Lord's work for
Oh yeah.
sure.
Thanks, Movie. Thanks, Movie. Yeah, it's
So
such
how
a
can
good thing.
people help? How can
Yeah.
people help?
How can people help? Well, there's two ways to
Mm-hmm.
help. So, one, can people help by sharing with their family, their friends, their colleagues what they learned today? So, the signs of stroke. And then another way that people can help is they can donate to the Heart and Stroke Foundation. So, all of the work well, I should say most of the work we do, over 95% of our funding comes from individual donors. So, it could be people in the community, it could be corporations. Really, that would be a great way people can help. Also, if they wanted to help, they could help us get that fast signage out. So we have a lot of ways that we're giving free digital signage to companies or organizations to help us get the message out to different kind of
Mm-hmm.
communities and different networks. So for instance, when you go to the airports across Canada in both Edmonton and Calgary, you will see fast signage that the airports there have donated to us on their digital screens. So if anybody has access to free digital advertising space, that would be a great way to help us in very low cost way to an individual.
And how would people find this information? Reach out to you directly, go
Yeah,
to the
reach out.
website. What's the
Yeah.
best way?
So you could go to the website, which is heartandstroke.ca, or you could reach out to me directly. You can find me easily on LinkedIn and send me a message on LinkedIn, and I would be more than happy to connect you with the right people to get that messaging out.
Awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
Any other thing you would like to add that maybe I didn't ask?
Yeah, no, I just want to say tremendous thank you to you, Lumi, for this great opportunity. And it's so wonderful to have programs like this and to have this space to connect newcomers. I think this is just wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And thanks to everyone that's watching or that watched this video later. Yes, this is not your typical techie podcast, but I'm sure we all agree that this is important. And it's important that we are giving opportunity to hear, things that about health, community health. And also because I believe strongly that innovation comes when we bring systems that normally don't touch each other and you bring them together. You give opportunity for a nonprofit to relate more with the tech systems, and you never know the great things that can come out of that. So yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to join us, Robin.
Yeah, thank you, Wumi. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great
Uh-huh.
day.
Yeah, you too. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.